Sorry.
Welcome, Brigette, to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm
Yes,
excited.
yes, I'm really excited to talk about scaling, right? You talk about scale in all of your content. You talk about raising your prices, and there's been so much debate on raising your prices. Is this ethical? How to do it ethically? And so this is what I want this conversation to be about, to get into the nitty-gritty of those details.
All right. So,
Yeah.
do we want to start with scale or do we want to start with like high ticket sales and the kind of the edginess around that topic? Which one do
Let's
we want
start,
to go
let's
first?
start with scale first, just
Okay.
to, yeah, just to give people, just to like set the foundation for
Yeah.
what we're talking about and growth and
Yeah.
right expansion.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest challenge is that a lot of how we think about and talk about scale, or the way that I came into understanding scale, comes from the technology, startup tech companies, the
Yes.
pressure to create digital products that are scalable, that they could mass reach a much larger client base, make a lot more money with over time, a lot less expense. And
Mm,
so
mm, mm.
scale is it like it's an adjective, it's a verb, and it's a noun. At
Okay.
scale, it's scalable or to scale. And so there's so much to talk about. So we have to think about what it is that we're scaling to actually have a meaningful conversation about scale. And I don't deal with all aspects of scale, but some of the things I look at is how do we scale sales? And the way I think about one way to scale sales is to reduce the amount of time and money we spend selling or getting on sales calls, for example, is like
Mm,
a perfect example
yeah.
of how we can scale sales. And so, for example, a webinar or workshop, an evergreen training where you make a really skillful, consensual, ethical presentation and have a sales conversation with people one to many and have multiple people collaborate with you in a decision making process to determine if they want to invest in your program and continue to work with you beyond the webinar or the workshop. That is a perfect example of how we can scale sales with one tangible strategy, right?
So, so there you're talking about you have, let's say, a webinar,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have another call where interested people come on the call and you answer questions.
Well, it could be either or. So, for example, the way that I structure events is I decide if the event is just to solve a problem, and then I will create an event where I work with people on a particular goal. And it's an event where there will be no sales presentation and no pitch. And I will tell them up
Mm.
front that this is not an event where I'm going to pitch my services. You can follow up with me if you'd like after, but this workshop is exclusively to design your event framework, and there's a fee for that. Then I host free events, which is more of a webinar formula, but I don't use a webinar formula. I use a consensual formula, which is really about disrupting how we do this one to many selling. Because traditionally, you get into a webinar, you want to learn all the answers, and the whole thing is set up as one big pitch,
Got
one
it.
big build
Yes.
up to get you to buy. My events are the complete opposite. I start out by telling you, I'm going to share with you my pitch and my offers. And it's entirely up to you whether you're interested in them or not, whether you want to listen to that. And I need actually for you to tell me now, do I have your consent to share my offer with you as part of this event? This is a free event. And so during this event, I'm going to accomplish a few things. I'm going to give you an overview of my entire solution framework. I'm going to explain to you how my solution works. And I'm going to take you through one or two key elements of that solution. And I'm going to help you get some progress around part of this solution in this workshop. But because it's just a 3 hour workshop, I can't help you achieve the full solution. So I want to tell you up front, honestly, that I can reveal some of this and I can give you the big picture, but I can't give it all to you because it's actually not possible to do so. And that's why, as part of this event, I'm also going to explain how you can actually work with me to implement the full solution. And this is a methodology that I've been using for 8 years now. And it is game changing because the feedback I get from people is that the level of safety and nervous system regulation that they feel starting out my workshop, knowing exactly what's coming what they're going to get, what they're not going to get.
Mm.
And then I will actually tell people part of my process is I'm going to get consent to follow up with you. How many of you are okay with me following up with you for two specific reasons? And I'm not going to lie. One, I want you to tell me how helpful this workshop was and what you took away from it. And is there something else you would have wanted to take away that you didn't get from it? And two, do you want my help beyond the workshop? Was the workshop enough to help you solve your problem? Or do you need support beyond this workshop? And this is, this has been a game-changing approach to selling for people. And I will often then segue in those workshops into love seat coaching, which is a combination of modeling how I would coach people in my programs for free, give them real coaching. And some people, and I remember my one client who's a Latina woman who helps speakers who have trauma, who have experienced sexual violence in their lives, who are now CEOs of organizations that are out fundraising. She was so interested in the event, and I could tell she wanted to work with me. And I remember saying, are you comfortable doing a live love seat with me where I actually am going to walk through and talk with you about your interest in working with me as your coach and let everybody into the conversation with us? And she was like, and I was like, well, this is what I teach. This is what I do. It's what you're considering having me help you with. And she was like, freaked out on the edge, but also like, yes, let's do this. And this was as part of my 5-day challenge that people can get for free. And I remember like just going all in with her. And I remember just tuning out, there's people there, and just having this like sales conversation that I would have had with any client. Like, tell me what you desire. What's your vision? What are your goals? What do you think you need my help with? Where have you struggled? Where do you know your shit? Where are you rocking it? We just kept going. And then like at one point I just looked at her and I said, do you think you want me as your mentor and your coach? And she was like, I do. I absolutely do. Like, I have no questions in my mind that I want to hire you. But now I need to know, like, I'm freaking out because now I really want to work with you. And I'm terrified that I can't even afford your program. And so then this was the next piece, which is the
Yes.
money conversation where people get really edgy about, like, do I talk about money? Do I tell people how much my program costs in my content, in my event? Do I wait? Do I send it in an email? Right? People are really tweaked out about talking
Yeah.
about the money. And I was
Yes.
like, well, let's talk through this. I said, I have a couple of different investment levels. What would work for you? And when I explained to her that I had 3 investment levels and that I had a group program that was only $3,000, she was like, wait, what? Most of these programs are like $10,000, $15,000. I can afford that. She was like on this live training with other people that's getting recorded. She's like, I can afford that. She's like, I want to work with you. I can afford that. I'm going to go look for my money right now. I'm going to sign up for this program. And it was like this bizarro moment of like
Oh my
capturing
God.
this, you know,
Process.
gorgeous process. And it opened people's eyes up to this idea that like you could be totally candid, vulnerable, consensual, and have these edgy, scary conversations with people openly. Now, I will say there's a caveat here. This works really well for certain kinds of offers and certain kinds of work. This does not always work well with my client. For example, Jenny Braxton, she's a pussy pleasure-based coach that works with women around sometimes healing from sexual trauma and shame in the body. She may do a bit of this, but she may not go as deep in the love seat coaching as she would in a private one-to-one conversation with someone that's exploring to work with her. So it really depends on the type of work you do, how private it is, how edgy or intimate the topic is. But I find that based on how you set the container and the level of safety you create through the workshop, for most people, you can scale sales using this one-to-many sales technique. And even if someone is not ready to say yes, taking them through the pre-qualifying process, the questions that they would need to answer for themselves as sovereign beings, walking them through that analysis of whether your offer is the right fit, your approach is right for them, how you would help them, what they need help with, what won't work, what will work. This whole process of pre-qualifying people is what scales sales.
Mm.
And it's not talked about and nobody teaches it much in detail because it doesn't fall in the category of like sexy, edgy things to talk about online.
True, true.
And people get into this whole thing of like, this is very masculine and technical, which we can go there with these like genderized ideas around what, like what's masculine and feminine when it comes to sales and energy
Yeah.
around sales. And for me, it could be nothing further from the truth. For me, it's creating again like this honest, authentic, transparent dialogue with people where you actually go there and explore with them what they want it, why or why not they believe that they should invest in it or can invest in it. And when you get to that level of safety and comfort, and you bring that to your content and you bring that to your events, that's how you begin to scale your sales, because you don't need a million sales calls. You don't need long sales conversations, because through your content, through your experiences, people will already go through a sales process,
Yes.
and one that feels good. And
Yes.
then they will be able to tell you, yes, I'm ready. I'm almost ready, which is another answer that people tweak out about. And then they're just like, forget it. That person doesn't want to work with me. And it's like, hold on. Let's talk about scaling our follow up and having a system to follow up with people and not overcomplicate it and not get in our heads about, I'm going to bother them. This is invasive. They're
Right.
not going to want me to follow up. I ask every single person, do you really want to work with me in the future? You don't have to, if you're not sure or you're not even thinking you really will, you don't have to say that. But if you're saying it because you really do believe you want to work with me, but just not quite right now, how far into the future do you think you might want to work with me? 2 months, 3 months? Okay. They tell me, well, I'm working on blah, blah, blah in 3 months. Okay. Does it feel good for us to set up a follow-up call in 3 months? And I'll check in with you first, because what you're telling me, what I'm hearing from you is that in order for you to start working with me, you have to pay down this credit card debt. You need to get this particular system in your business organized, and you're offboarding this one type of client that you don't want to work with anymore. So these are the three things you're telling me you want to have in order before we work together. And then I have a system where I track that, and then I follow up with people with a very easy way to check in around, this is where we left off. This is what you shared. People feel comfortable because they remember there was consent established. And so this is this way of like building a sales process and a sales system that over time gets easier, and it takes less energy. And so, people think about scale only in terms of money as the energy or the currency.
Right.
Scale is only about over time spending less money to make more money, which is a very capitalist construct of scale.
And I also think it's about like when I think about it from the perspective of energetics, it's about energy conservation, right? So it's like anti-hustle, anti-burnout. It really is about energy preservation or energy efficiency.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think of high ticket pricing that way too. So we can like tie this to the second part of the conversation you wanted to have, which is high ticket pricing is not for every person and every offer. Okay. I want to dispel this right now. There are so many people out there like pimping this narrative of like, everybody should be high ticket. Anybody that desires to make a lot of money should have a high ticket. No, a lot of y'all out there should not have a high ticket offer, because it's not that deep. It's not delivering a tangible outcome, transformation, healing process that is proven. You cannot fully describe it because it's not fully real yet, or it's too early stage. Like there's a whole litany of reasons why there's a whole spectrum of people that should not be charging high ticket. So I want to set that clear right now. But to the other side of the spectrum, there's a whole group of people doing work that is really deep, really intersectional, really intentional, with a great deal of care, training, spiritual preparation, ancestral guidance, family, communal insights, and mentorship around them to hold them as they then provide that mentorship for others. People with gobs of coaching certifications, trainings, hours and hours, thousands of hours, and years of expertise that are doing really amazing work. And they're charging very little because they want to help everybody and they want to be accessible. And then they're burnt out. They don't have a business. They don't even have a profitable nonprofit. They just have a non-profiting nonprofit.
Yeah. Yeah.
no-profit thing.
No profit, non-profit.
And they're ne- usually hooked into one or two core trauma narratives, which is either the survivorship trauma or the saviorhood trauma. Now, I'm a very
Yes.
unique creature. I'm very special because I'm mixed. I have both survivorship and saviorhood trauma.
Yes.
The
Yes.
survivorship is like, I'm Boricua, I'm Latina, my family had to bust their asses, my tia still cleans toilets, I still have family, that doesn't have the resources. Why is it fair or okay that I should have work that I love with people that I love that's easy, where I make a lot of money doing something that I enjoy that doesn't deplete me? It's not fair. And then there's the saviorhood side of me, which is like, but I want to help everybody, even if they have no money, even though that makes no sense because you can't have a business serving people that have no money. But I don't want to be exclusive. I don't want to replicate a system of oppression where only people that already have a lot of money can get access to me as a coach and learn how to make more money, because then I'm only helping people that are already at the top of the pyramid to go higher. And how is that helping disrupt a system of oppression and create more economic equality? Because these are my values and this is what I care about, right? So then
Right.
it's like this whole conundrum of like high ticket pricing, good, bad, ethics, why, right? And then part
Yeah.
of what I do is work with people through an impact framework, an impact triangle, where we get to put ourselves at the center of the impact triangle. And our business is a way that we can serve and create impact. But at the core, we are working in our business and we have to be paid well. Otherwise, we have built an oppressive business system and it's oppressing us first at the foundation. And this is highly problematic when we're underpaid, under-resourced, overstretched, because we might think we're feeling or doing good, but ultimately we're resentful, we don't feel good, we don't feel resourced, and we're not giving from a place of abundance, right? So the way that I fix this with folks is like, how do we build a high ticket pricing structure that actually aligns with your values and can achieve more than one goal, right? So again, the center goal is you have a sustainable business that's financially profitable and you get paid and you can pay other people and you can spend money on the things you need to be able to deliver a high quality, high impact, highly transformational service that actually achieves the outcome, that you can go above and beyond, show up in support of your client and hold them until you can help them achieve the outcome and deliver on the promise. It costs money and time and resources and energetics and spiritual and emotional energy to deliver on a big promise. And you cannot underprice that because it's going to be bad for everyone in the equation. So you need to charge according to your ethics, your commitments, the way you show up and hold the container. Now, that means that you have a percentage of your clientele has got to be people for whom money is not a problem. You cannot have a niche built on people for whom having any access to any form of resources to pay for your services is their primary problem.
Right.
Because that is an impact niche. It doesn't mean that you don't want to serve some people who don't have access to sufficient resources to pay your high ticket price. It just means that they can't be your primary niche. They can be a complementary niche. And I like to always give an example so that it doesn't get too
Yes,
confusing.
please.
So I was working with a client who wanted to work with women who were victims or survivors of domestic violence, who were getting their lives together, who were wanting to really do what they wanted, that were healing from their trauma. They wanted to go after their dreams. And the vast majority of the women that she was attracting were women that had also experienced domestic violence and financial abuse and violence from their partners, meaning they were left with debt.
Yes.
Their homes were lost. They had bankruptcy that they had to declare because their partners had also financially abused them.
Yes.
That is not a business niche. You cannot build a business around women who were both survivors of domestic violence and financial violence and are in a position where they have no access to adequate funds to pay for services. That doesn't mean you can't serve that population, but you need to build an impact model, a triangular impact model. And so we brainstormed and I helped her realize that there's a whole segment of women who were survivors of domestic violence, who were not victims of financial violence, who actually had been on a part of their journey of healing, had gotten into high achiever jobs, had good salaries, or who were actually fairly accomplished women, authors, doctors, et cetera. And this was for a group for women of color, really well accomplished women, but who were still holding a lot of deep trauma in their body, and it was keeping them from their next level of success as speakers, getting out in the world and doing the next big thing.
Yeah.
So this was a complementary niche to the other. And then in working with these high achieving women of color with big jobs and big titles and big pressures, who are also still healing from their traumas from domestic violence and self-doubt, she positioned an offer to them and also embedded into their offering that they, in signing up to work with her in her high ticket one-to-one, were sponsoring and paying it forward for a woman who didn't have access to those same level of resources. And she was charging this group of women who had money. That wasn't the problem. Once again, the problem they had was not money, a premium to solve their problem. They need to get on bigger stages. They need to get over the remaining fear in their body. And then in charging these women a premium and delivering a premium service and having exceptionally happy clients and having clients that were happy to invest because they knew a portion of what they were investing was being paid forward to other women who had experienced domestic violence, and they were thrilled to invest with a brand that had those values. And so she created this win-win triangle where she was solving the problem for these people of privilege that have money that still have a problem. She was also helping solve a problem for a group of women that had a problem but couldn't afford to solve it. And she was also paying herself and building a sustainable business ecosystem. And she's also changing the world through her business because her business is sustainable.
So let me ask a question about that. That's brilliant. And so what you're saying is that by charging this particular group of women who were well-resourced financially, but still had some of the internal barriers to going next level, they were paying for the other group of women who are sort of the impact niche. They were able to access those same services from her.
Absolutely. And it was something that these women were really excited about. And it may have, and we believe, and I believe in the people that choose to invest with me, that it is a 100% factor in the buyer's decision-making process, that there is a specific type of ethical conscious buyer. There's two different buyers, and this is not to put a judgment on them, but they're just different. There are buyers that will buy from a brand and they don't care about that company's ethics around how they reinvest that money. They don't care what that business does with that money. That company might reinvest that money in blood diamonds and slave labor. Y que le da igual. There's a whole segment and there's a lot of that market. But there is a conscious consumer market, a conscious buyer market, and is growing because of social media, because of an awareness of social economic justice systems of oppression. There is a huge growing niche of buyers who want to spend more money with companies doing social good that are not harming people on the planet. And this is my career, studying this industry, studying more conscious models of capitalism. Now, understanding that capitalism is a broken system. It's an oppressive system. It was designed on oppression. It was designed on cheap or unpaid labor of people who hold marginalized identities. That's how the system was built. Understanding that there are new forms of capitalism that are less harmful, less extractive, and less likely to be participating in systems of oppression, which is why I'm going to drive this point home if I have to scream it to the hilltops. Conscious businesses, conscious CEOs, conscious coaches, mentors, healers. You've done the work, you've done the investments, you've done the racial, social, justice, somatic, trauma-informed healing, training, clearing. You have all the tools and you're trying to do the thing with less harm and you're doing it so beautifully. You cannot undercharge for your services. It is a system of oppression that you are recreating in your own business with yourself. Ask me how I know. I'm not preaching from above the soup. I'm explaining the soup that I've been in, that I've been swimming myself out of, right? Which is that none of us can save the whole world. We all have a right to be resourced and abundant and live a good life. And and denying ourselves that consciously or unconsciously does not actually ensure that other people get more access or get more help. That's not how it works.
Exactly.
And there's a caveat to that. And I need to have the billionaire conversation because my ass is chapped and I'm on fire about the billionaire conversation because it's driving me crazy. Okay. So there's two truths, and we need to speak these two truths. When people of regular financial means, even middle class means, or even people approaching or within the millionaire status are able to build ethical, conscious, thriving businesses and thrive and be abundant, they can do so in ways that don't extract and harm other people on a grand scale. Or they can minimize the scale at which they are causing harm and extraction by building a good life. You don't harm other people by building a profitable, sustainable business that does good stuff in the world. You can invest your money ethically. You can make your money ethically. When you start amassing, and yes, hoarding billions of dollars as a corporation, I'm going to give everyone the challenge to find me a scaled, high profit, high performing fund or public company that is in the billionaire status, run by a billionaire CEO, that is not heavily invested in perpetuating and profiting from prison and war systems of oppression. Find me the fucking company, show me the data, because I'm a sales analyst, I'm a business analyst, and I'm a global economic development analyst. So come fuck with me and show me the case study. Tell me the company, tell me the CEO, show me the receipts, show me where their money is invested, and show me how that money is made, and find me the billionaires that are fixing the planet and doing good stuff and that are not amassing, investing, and building wealth in ways that are deeply harmful and extractive. Because I'll tell you the industries where you've reached billionaire status. And there's one that's questionable because that's technology, and there's a question mark in that one. But the vast majority of industries where people become billionaires is in pharmaceutical, addictive, quote, medicines that replace organic plant medicine and are built on a system where we are purposely poisoned with our food, our water, and our mental health so that we can be addicted to those very same medications and
Absolutely.
pharmaceuticals.
100%.
That's one industry.
Yeah.
Then there is petrol and steel and the resources that literally fuel and maintain weapons of mass destruction, prison industrial war complexes, like the Gaza complex, like the prisons where predominantly Black, brown, indigenous bodies of color are incarcerated because you make more money for every single human body incarcerated.
Yes.
Because you got to buy beds and food, and you have to have guards, and you have to have security systems, right? So the vast majority of billions of dollars are made in these industries. And then there's the technology sector, which can have different levels of social good attached to it. But it's not just how they make the money. It's also where they invest it and spend it and what they then fund with that money. So go look at some of the billionaire tech people and let me know if they're not invested in another level of the prison war industrial complex. Even if their money is not made in the sketchiest way first, that money is then reinvested to get, and this is your work, finance, investments. Like that's not my zone of expertise, but I'm passionate about it because I'm tired of the oversimplification and the vanillification and the idiocracy of the conversation around fucking billionaires of like, oh, if we're afraid of billionaires or we don't embrace and love being a billionaire, then we are going to put all this bad billionaire juju into the money manifestation fairy energetics of the universe, and we'll never make a lot of money if we're against billionaires. Y me da mucha cosa. Like I cannot with the manifestulation of money mindset cacophony of idiocracy. It's like there's truth in mindset, there's truth in law of attraction, there's truth in we create our reality, there's truth in all of that. And then there's another side of things, which is like the actual raw reality of the global economic system of oppression that we exist in.
Yeah.
And billionaires hoarding wealth, land, and resources is precisely why we have inequality.
Yes.
Like, please come to me with another formula or another breakdown of how you've shaken it out, because I've been studying it for 25 years. And poor people didn't make, quote, poor people didn't make poverty.
Right. Right.
That's not how it works.
They
It's
didn't
not
create
poor
it.
people's fault
Yeah.
that they have. It's like there are people all over the world that are like working really hard
Yes.
and
Yes.
really committed to the things, and they are living on subsistence level income, not because they don't have a powerful money mindset and good energies. Because let me tell you, I was in Peru y esa gente tiene una energética de la puta mierda. You go to fucking Guatemala, you go to fucking Peru, you go to fucking Honduras. You want to talk about people with some fucking energetics, some affirmative ways of walking? These people are walking around positive all fucking day.
Yeah.
Abundance, in alignment with the cosmos, with their ancestors, with ceremony, with practices, with beliefs, with hard work. And they just live in an oppressive system with unequal access to fucking resources. And that's it. And those systems are created by billionaire corporations. And billionaire CEOs run those billionaire corporations. So miss me with the blowing smoke up Elon Musk's cooch with the new company. It's like, if you have billions of dollars, you can actually eradicate diseases and lack of access to food and water in entire nations.
Yes.
But they don't have to. Why not? When their businesses are extracting and harming in those very places and causing that poverty.
Right.
People have to wake up. Like, the coaching industry, I love you all. I love all the heart-centered people. I love all the spiritual entrepreneurs. I love how well-intentioned you are. There's so many good people, want to do so many good things. We can do the good things. We can make money. We can live a good life. And we can also pull the wool off our eyes, and we can look at what's actually going on in the world systemically. And we can be a part of the solution in specific, tangible ways without getting burnt out, without overstretching ourselves. Because again, going back to my original point, we can't save everybody. We can't fix the world, right? We're just one person. We do have to take care of ourselves, take care of our families, heal ourselves, be resourced, live well, so that we also have the capacity to have some significant impact or create some movement to redistribute the powerful wealth, abundance, and resources that we can generate as infinitely capable beings, right? That we can create so much. Then we can redistribute those resources, and we can inspire other people to do the same, because there's collective wealth and wellness, and then there's individual wealth and wellness. And I firmly believe this at this point. And I know the narrative is so often that it's all about individual health, wellness, and their individual spiritual journey. We can never be truly safe, well, or free unless all people are safe, well, and free. And you can argue with me till you want. But if you believe that if you individually are well and healthy and safe, and large percentage of people in the world are not, and you truly believe that those things are disconnected, then you're still living in capitalist, white, supremacist, individualist culture disconnect, dissonance with the nature of who we are. Because y'all folks are like spiritual beings. We're all spiritual. We're all connected. But that means when it comes to everything, right? And again, it doesn't mean that the vast majority of us, we don't have the power and the influence to stop the war machine.
Yeah.
I can't stop this genocide that's happening around the world individually. No. I can only take actions and move my energy and my resources in specific places where I believe that I can actually have a net tangible impact that during my lifetime feels measurable and feels adequate for my values. And this is a balancing act, right? So this is the other side of scale.
Yes.
You know, scale is about how do we manage our energy, manage our impact, manage our vision for like all the powerful, beautiful things we want to see in the world, and hold that vision, hold the energetics of that to inspire us and not lose sight of the possibility of the world that we're creating on the other side of what we're in now. And then also be leveraged, be strategic, niche down our journey, like Maisha Hill talks about, that I'm going to interview her for the summit. I'm going to talk to Trudy about this. I'm going to talk to so many incredible women of color about how we can get out of saviorhood. We can't save everybody and save the world. We've got to take care of ourselves and our families and our communities. And there are specific, tangible ways that each of us can make a significant impact and contribute to a better, more just, more equitable world for everyone. And even if that just means redistributing wealth or resources or moving opportunities in one particular sphere, it's about getting invested in that particular vision, that particular initiative, building it in a way that's sustainable. That's not a whole other thing, a whole other tentacled octopus entity in addition to our business,
Right.
which has to sustain us and fund our lives and fund our teams. And, we can build an ecosystem in our business where we can build our impact initiative, going back to bring it all full circle, right? We can build our impact initiative into our offers. We can build our activism into our business so that we're not dispersed and trying to do 10,000 things. And so that we can also do the business activities, price our offerings, do the selling, close the sales, bring in the money in a way that allows us to have the resources and the spaciousness to have opportunities, to have choices for what we can do. And it's, this is not a formula. This is not like here's my 1, 2, 3 step way to achieve this. This is so individual to each of us in terms of our lived experience, our identity, what we carry forth from our family system, from our ancestors, right? Like how we want to be a part of the change.
Yes.
I keep hearing all these people in the spiritual community, the new earth, the new earth. We're not going to get a new earth. We have this one, and we have to heal, reverse, and mitigate and slow down some of the systems happening on this earth right now.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if we're going to get another one, right? This earth is our new earth. We are birthing it, and we have no choice but to actually breathe life into it now.
Yes.
Because otherwise, and I'm sorry to be the Debbie Downer, if we just keep living in this capitalist construct of make more money, to spend more money, to have more purses, to have more shoes, to take more flights, to buy more things, to make more money, to buy more things, which is what capitalist systems and a lot of the coaching industry is predicated on, this narrative that we need to spend more to buy more, to have more, to spend more, to buy more. It is a vicious, vicious trap that not only harms us because we are stuck in a loop and we're continuing to convince ourselves that having more things is going to fulfill us and make us feel more successful or reach. And it doesn't mean we don't get to have nice things, right? But there's balance in that.
Yeah.
And the planet cannot sustain the population growth, how old we're living to be, and how much we're consuming and how much we're producing in terms of toxins on the planet. It simply is not designed to sustain at this level. So that means we have to rethink what it means to have a business that is healing people and the planet and sustainable and giving back, right? And really look at all those things in balance.
Each business owner has to decide how they're going to design their business so that it does include some form of impact, right? Because just being in business just for yourself, just to kind of feed your family, feed yourself, it's just, there's nothing beyond the individual.
But that's for some people, that's okay. That's all they want.
Yes. And I also want to urge people to think beyond themselves, to really think collectively. It's not that you have to do it or you're a bad person or you're a bad CEO, but it's just the way that society is moving is really in that direction, right?
Yeah.
Age of Aquarius, people talk about it all the time, right? It's really about thinking beyond the individual self, right? and
Yes.
into the collective. And so it's like, yeah, we talk about redistribution and how do we like, that's why I talk about like money does not belong to you, right? It's like, yes, you can make a ton of money, but it doesn't belong to you. Like, let's figure out how to keep that money in movement instead of into this hoarding you're talking about, or like this consumption into like more like into just more consumption and sort of like recycling into the self.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
think that's also, I mean, when I think of scale, I think of there's two sides of it. And you're speaking at my summit. There's some other amazing humans speaking at the Disruptive Scale Summit. And it's really about disrupting the traditional capitalist construct of what it means to
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
And there's several sides to scale, but I like to think of two aspects of scale. One is this shadow side. It's this healing, accepting, embracing that there's a shadow side where we have been conditioned and hooked into believing that toxic productivity, whether consciously or subconsciously, busyness, being involved and doing and achieving and striving for more, 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 is a measure of our worth as humans.
Yeah.
And it's a cultural, societal, economic conditioning
Mm-hmm.
that's been going on
Absolutely.
for a really long time. And so for me, scale is also about unhooking from that conditioning
Yeah.
and realizing that we can leverage strategic and spiritual technologies to actually do fewer things to achieve a bigger outcome.
Yeah.
And there's so many strategic and spiritual technologies that we can leverage. And the summit, I'm going to present a large variety of everything from how to leverage AI and quizzes and technical strategic sales tools, SEO, to again the spiritual technologies of how we can unlearn and heal our shadow side and integrate and accept and unlearn and find a new way of being and doing so that we are not hooked into the idea that if we're not busy, we're not successful, or
Absolutely.
we're not working hard enough, or we don't deserve it. And there's complexity there. But I mean, there's also like a lot of preconceived notions and fears. So like I'll tell this quick story and I know we have to wrap it up. Like I have a love-hate relationship with the whole construct of AI. Like I know it's got its uses. I actually have used AI for years for one particular strategic taking my audio and transcribing it because I'm a speaker. So everything I
Mhm.
do is I speak my content. I can't write. So I've been using a transcription AI for 5 years, but I was like, could chat GPT, it's going to be crap. Everybody's like, I can tell your content is by chat GPT. It's just so obvious that you're using it, and just all this rhetoric about chat GPT. So I
Yeah.
avoided it for ages. Yesterday, yesterday, my partner is like, I am going to help you with your business. I know how to use chat GPT. And I was like, get out of here with that bullshit. Like, whatever. And he's like, give me some of your content right now and describe the way you speak in marketing language. And I'm going to give you something from ChatGPT. And I was like, whatever, bro. So I give him this cockamamie transcription, which is like 3 random things I gave as an idea for
Yeah.
email sequences for the summit, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 a whole hot mess. And then he says, let me show you the regular one. So he does the regular one and it gives me crap. And I'm like, it was like this academic weird thing. Then he said, tell me how you talk in your brand. I said, I'm disruptive, no bullshit, and edgy. He tells ChatGPT to create this. I'm not supposed to tell, but I told. And he gives it back to me. And I literally tell him as he's reading it, stop bullshitting me. You're making this up and you're saying that because you know that's how my brand sounds.
I
He's
love
like, I am not making it up. I am reading it from the prompter. And I'm like, shut up. And he shows it to me because I literally still think he's making it up. Because he's like, come to the Disruptive Scale Summit where you're going to get no bullshit advice on blah, 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 blah. And it was like perfect. And I was like, okay, lesson learned. If you have a strong voice and you produce great content and you have a library of great content you've been creating for 5 years and you know how to succinctly describe your brand's message, style, tone, and voice, ChatGPT can edit all your content in 2 minutes. And it's going to sound pretty close to you. And you might not like a few word choices and you can like smooth them out. But it's like, here I've been all this time because of listening to the public narrative. And it's like, well, whoever was saying that obviously doesn't have great content, doesn't know how to describe their brand voice adequately.
Yeah.
Or in enough detail. And so you put in porqueria, which means crap in Spanish, and you get porqueria, you get crap back. You put in something powerful, edgy, and fantastic with a little bit of guidance, and you get something refined back,
Yeah.
and it saves you time. And now I'm like, now I know what to do with 1,200 hours of transcriptions
Yeah.
that would take me like 17 years to edit
Yeah. Yeah.
as a human or
Right.
any other human to pay them.
All right.
Right.
Brigette. Yes. Yes. So tell us about the Disruptive Scale Summit.
So it's coming in April.
Yes.
Isha's speaking. It's all about how do we scale our time and our money and our impact as spiritual entrepreneurs on a spiritual journey. How do we create a bigger impact? How do we make more money? How do we heal with over time, less effort so that it gets easier? How do we invest in the right leveraged, strategic, and spiritual technologies to get a bigger output with less effort in a way that's not oppressive to ourselves and other humans?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love
That's
it.
what the summit is about.
Okay, so that's coming up in April, and
What are you going to be talking about?
I'm going to be talking about some of the redistribution of wealth pieces, and I'm going to be also talking about, right, like the shadow side of spirituality and the shadow side of scale, as you talked about today, sort of like the hustle piece and having to work more to make more.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of really juicy elements in there.
Yeah, you don't want to miss this summit because it's going to be really great. Isha's amazing, and there's so many other amazing women that we're in community with that are going to be sharing. It's an interview format, and it's like I'm going to get right to it. No
Yes.
bullshit style. Like you don't have to watch like hours of webinars. It's like an interview where I ask exactly like, what is the solution? What's the biggest problem? How do you apply it? And how do you know if it's the right solution for you? So if you're going to do a summit this year, do this one. And also when you buy your ticket, you're going to be funding a social impact initiative in Puerto Rico that you'll learn about through the summit, where Isha and I will be there next week with my comadre Aimi Montoya of Vive Boriquen. And we will be talking about and potentially filming and sharing how we can do travel, tourism, luxury retreats, Airbnb in places like Puerto Rico in a way that actually makes sure that that money goes back into the Puerto Rican economy through local Puerto Rican businesses and doesn't get extracted from the island from expats. So definitely come to the summit for a million reasons. It's amazing. You're going to learn how to scale your business. You're going to meet amazing leaders. You're going to have a huge, beautiful connection and collaboration community because we're going to have a beautiful opening ceremony. And you're going to be funding this incredible work that Aime has been doing for the past 10 years on the island of our ancestors.
I love it. I
Can't
love
wait.
it. This
Can't wait to be there with
amazing.
you in 2 weeks. I can't believe we're going to be in Puerto Rico in 2 weeks. It was already
know.
It was already weird that we were like in Spain together last year. Now this is like an annual thing. Like, where are we going to be together this year? Like Spain, Puerto Rico, then where? Every year we're going to go on a vacation with our daughters and be like, I can't believe we're here together.
Yes, so good, so good.
Until we're very old viejitas with our little traguitos and like, this year we're not going anywhere.
Dame mi piña colada. All right, everybody. Yes, so if you're on my email list, you'll know about the summit. I'm going to let you know ahead of time. I'm going to let you know what's going on in Puerto Rico. And if you're not on my email list, I'm going to include a link that you can get on my email list or get on Brigette's email list so that you can know what's happening when the summit comes out. You'll know exactly what's happening and what to do. All right.
Thank you so much, Mama.
Thank you, Brigette, for laying it down so clearly and succinctly.
I don't know about succinctly, but we
laid it down.
Yeah.
At least no bullshit. All right.